one. And we are recording with Mr. Dale Comstock, Mr. Brian Rust, and Mr. Don the Pleb, all of whom have been on here before. I don't think all together, but I guess to kind of segue what I was just saying before we start recording is Don's in Texas and Brian and Dale are in Florida. Kind of the only places where it seems any semblance of America is continuing to persist. And Dale has, despite being to like a 590 countries, I know there's not that many.
37.
Yeah, the shittiest places he's seen is San Francisco, and take that for what it is. But I figured we'd talk about those places are lost, how to save the existing places. But before that, I guess Dale, could you kind of maybe, so I'm not putting words in your mouth, could you tell Mr. Rust about just how exactly horrible it is as opposed to Florida?
Yeah. All right. So let me just preface it with this. I've literally lived in, traveled to, or worked in over 97 countries my whole life. And currently I reside in Bali, Indonesia, which is paradise. Pretty close to it. But I've lived, I've been to Central South America. I've lived all over Europe, Hong Kong. And so I've had the opportunity to immerse myself in different cultures, countries, etc. So I ended up in San Francisco. Actually, I started going there at the end of October on an invitation from a company that used my services before. And essentially what they're doing is they're providing security for a very large, how do I describe it? Retail store, very large, international in fact. And in San Francisco, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, really all up and down the West Coast, but particularly in California, you have a lot of crime, rampant crime, to the point where, there's literally Proposition 47. You can steal up to $950 worth of anything, and it's only a misdemeanor. And that's if they'll even charge you, right? So, and with the defund the police and all the other, stupid stuff that's going on out there. For example, San Francisco, I think they lost over 150 police officers that refused to get the vaccine. So that actually even worse. They have neutered the police department in that they literally can't do anything. So, for example, I was in one of these department stores, and my job is as a security contractor consultant. My job is to protect the store employees. That's it. I have nothing to do with shoplifting or stopping crime. My job is just to protect the employees from getting beat up from people off the street. And this particular location I'm at, I don't know how many people come through those doors in a day, but it's probably close to several thousand come through there. It's just a constant stream of people coming in there. And so most of them come in there to shop, honestly, and pay for their goods, but many come in to shoplift, and it's brazen. It's so brazen that they literally pull in carts, 4-wheel carts, 40-gallon trash bags, shopping carts. They come in and literally just take their time loading up everything they want, literally stealing thousands of dollars worth of merchandise at a time. And they literally do that in front of the police and me, because neither one of us have any powers to do anything. In fact, although as a citizen, I have the power to arrest, police officer obviously has the power to arrest. We are not allowed to do that. In fact, the police won't do it for the most part. I've never seen them arrest anybody for shoplifting, other than when I've actually called the police to nab guys that are like really the worst of the worst. It's so organized that they'll actually send out recon to come and see if there's police at the facility, how busy it is, and they'd like to hit early in the morning when the store is open, and late in the evening, particularly when it's dark and it's getting close to closing time. That's kind of when the zombies amass on the other side of this building, and they work out their strategy, and they come. It's like the zombie horde. It's the craziest thing you'll ever see, and they come in and they steal with impunity. They take their time. It's brazen because they know nobody will do anything to them. You cannot touch them. You can't do anything. You can't even take the merchandise from them. It's that bad out there. And so the police won't interfere. I've actually seen cops try to take some of the stuff back and get in a wrestling match they've actually resisted the police officer, and the cops just take their hand off, go, you know what? I'm not going to jail or get in trouble over some stolen merchandise. Good luck. Have at it. And they just walk out, and they do it every day. They come back every day. It's not one guy or two guys. It's 50 to 100 people a day come in and do this. And it's the most insane thing I've seen. I watch it on a daily event. I watch people come in and shoot heroin on the floor. They literally pull their pants down, poop on the floor. They poop in their hand. They smear all over the windows. They throw poop at people. I've seen people walk around no clothes on. As long as they have socks on, they're not considered nude. I've seen women walking around, up and down Market Street, completely naked. And the weirdest thing is nobody's paying attention. Nobody's actually. It's like they're so used to seeing this. Nobody actually pays any attention to them. I look around, going, is anybody else seeing this? It's just me. I've got video of all this stuff. I've seen men standing on the crosswalk with 20 other people getting ready to cross heavy traffic, and they're masturbating. Literally, they got their junk hanging out and they're masturbating. I mean, there's so many stories to tell. We've even been robbed with pit bulls. We got a guy that comes in on a regular basis with a pit bull, sticks a pit bull on everybody while he takes all this stuff and then walks out. And the problem is trying to arrest guys like him. You call the police, and the first thing they ask is, well, is there a weapon involved? No, but he's threatening us. He's carrying a hypodermic needle or whatever, and they never show up. They won't unless there's actually a weapon involved. Then they'll show up. Now, I've labeled this pit bull a weapon because he's using it as such, but every time I've called, it takes them a couple minutes to get there, and these guys long gone. They've got this down to a science. They literally come in, and they know that they have about 60 seconds time on target. They know where they're going, what they're grabbing. They've probably come in earlier, done a recon. It's just that bizarro. And the level of drugs and drug abuse and homelessness is, again, it's mind-boggling. Fentanyl is by far the worst drug that's out there. And I'll tell you what, I've seen the side effects. I've literally seen everything. Dead bodies on the street in San Francisco at night. They've got a patrol that walks around and basically picks up these bodies and moves these people from one location to another. These people literally look like zombies. Their skin is so degraded, and it's got, they've got cysts and open wounds and eczema and all, whatever, man. They literally look like zombies. I've never seen anything like that. Many of them are just literally out of their mind, even when they're not on drugs anymore. It's just that bad. And you can't walk 10 feet without either smelling urine or human feces, or running into some nutcase screaming and hollering at somebody, his alter ego or whatever. I've seen people getting punched in the head. I saw a little Chinese woman get punched in the back of the head by another woman. She fell out in front of another car because it came through the intersection. She turned around and kicked another woman in the groin at the same time, and then she went over and punched a manager at another store in the head. Police showed up, and I said, hey, this woman just stole some stuff. She's punching people in the head. And they're like, well, do you want to press charges? I go, well, why wouldn't we? Of course. So they actually arrested her, wrote her a ticket, and released her on the spot.
Why?
This is the kind of stuff that goes on every day there. And this is San Francisco. And I have tourists that come to me all the time, even people from out of state, from Florida, and they're looking at me going, hey, aren't you going to do anything? And I'm standing like this going, I'm doing it because this is all I'm allowed to do. And they're like, what? I go, yeah. And I said, don't believe the postcards, and San Francisco, in my opinion, is the worst city in the world I've ever been to. I've been to third world countries that were more sane than this, safer, cleaner. And I will point to who's at fault of this. The mayor, London Breed. Okay. She's a piece of garbage. Okay. So now they're going to try to rescind Proposition 47, but they're going to vote on it this fall. Really? So in the meantime, everybody just has a heyday until then, right? The city council, all bunch of liberals. All right. And the DA, his father actually went to prison for murdering 2 police officers and an armored car security officer in a botched armored car robbery. And so this is the mayor of San Francisco who got on 2 months ago, got on social media and praised the system for releasing his father. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for letting him go. It's like, dude, he's from a crime family, literally. And so he's so, in fact, he's prosecuting police officers, security officers left and right. In fact, I've talked to security officers. They've literally taken their handcuffs off, their batons off, They're guys are literally going to jail for putting handcuffs on people and scratching the wrist and losing everything for it, And so the system doesn't work for the civilians. It doesn't work for the law enforcement officer security. It works in favor of the criminals. Also, the other thing they do, so it's a racket. So they basically issue these EBT cards to the homeless people. They get, I think, something like $800 a month. They get a voucher for a hotel where you can go shower, get cleaned up. And then you got other vendors that come in, third party vendors that come in that basically issue blankets and stuff, right, to homeless people, and they get paid from the city, right? So it's a self-licking ice cream all the way around. So it's a good idea to keep everybody on drugs on the street because everybody else is profiting. And, prices go up for everything. And people are literally leaving San Francisco by the droves. The stores are closing left and right. I think there's so far, 27 or 28 Walgreens stores have closed down. London Bree will say, oh, well, it's because of economics. No, it's actually because of the level of crime. Right from where I work, I go down to Walgreens about 100 yards away from me to go grab some lunch. And I know there's 3 security officers in a Walgreens. And these guys are constantly, literally physically tossing people out the store and just hooking and jabbing. It's just insane because the doors are wide open. People come in and they just steal food and stuff. And these guys do the best they can, but even they are working under a lot of constraints and restrictions and can't do too much. I feel sorry for the guys. I mean, they're literally out there dragging people, fighting with people all day long. And so that's my experience in San Francisco. And, my concern is it's not just San Francisco. So, we're talking Oakland, we're talking Los Angeles, we're talking Chicago. New York just implemented the same policies. Okay. They just came out and go, hey, we're going to adopt the same policies. It's no longer a crime if you're a teenager and you punch a cop. It's no longer a crime if you resist arrest. It's no longer if you steal, everything. It's the most bizarre thing ever. And so it's becoming almost malignant, especially in the liberal states. I don't know if it'll ever become like that here. I hope not. But this is a sign of the times. This is sign and symptoms of a really bad disease that's been perpetuated under the guise of social justice. You can't even remove a homeless person that's sleeping on the street, and literally they will literally lay out on the sidewalk right there in the middle of traffic. It's like, how can you even rest with all these people stepping over and walking around you? A police officer can't even go out there and say, hey, I need you to move to the side. It's immoral. That's what they call it, immoral.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's so, it's almost impossible. It's so hard to describe until you actually live it. And it's like a circus. It really is. Every day, it's like, what kind of fun stuff I get to watch today. I mean, literally men having sex in a men's locker room, the homosexuals up there in the men's changing rooms. People come in and they can't find a toilet, so they go into the dressing rooms and they literally shit on the floor. They pee on the floor. They have sex in there. They go to sleep and they get drugged up and go to sleep, and for 4 or 5 hours inside the dressing room, right? And you can't get them out. You can't do anything. It's like, hey, sir, you awake yet, sir? Somebody would like to use this. It's crazy. I mean, the criminals have all the rights out there. I've actually seen them. We when we do stop them, they'll get very combative. And I always love it when it's a black police officer with me and they call him a racist, and then they say, wait till the war starts, you're going to pay for this, you're going to die. They're so indoctrinated, and it's their privilege, it's their right to steal. And they always go, they're making all kinds of money, and they're ripping people off. And it's like, it's a business, and that doesn't give you the right to steal from them. But they've just lost this whole concept of morality, and they don't. And I came in, I was in there one day and a woman comes in, black woman, and she just lays into me for like 30 minutes. She said I was guarding stolen property that was stolen from the Indians and from the blacks and all the minorities. And why are you guarding this property? And I'm like, I'm working, I'm not having this conversation with you. She goes, oh, you don't want to have this conversation with me? Well, I'm going to teach you something. And then, man, it got even worse and worse to where I had a crowd forming up in the store. And and I was kind of backed in the corner for a little bit, and I'm not going to run. I have to maintain my poise, and I have to do that for all the other employees to show that I'm not going to run from somebody with a big mouth. But, you get these attacks. I was attacked just for being white. You know, I was lectured that my forefathers are all rapists and pedophiles and murderers. And this is public screaming, man, chastisement, you know. And I'm thinking, have the tables ever been turned, you know? Suddenly I'm getting beaten up for just being a white guy, you know, doing my job, you know. And I actually had one of the managers tell me, hey, next time just leave and just go upstairs and break room and get away, you know. And I thought, why should I do that? My job's here to pull security. I said, you know, your employees are counting on me. And if I run away, well, what's that kind of messages that I send to them? I said, that's not what I do, you know. And but anyways, it's been an interesting time. I'm getting ready to go back out there tomorrow for a couple of weeks. Got it. So all the guys that are coming in are guys from East Coast. I'm bringing in SEALs. Everybody's got some kind of law enforcement background, but literally we're bringing in guys.
Did I lose everybody?
Huh? What's that?
I lost everybody.
No, that's you, Don. No, keep talking, Dale. Don's connection shut out.
No, so you know, it's literally they're bringing us in from the East Coast because it's a problem, you know, and they need guys that have, you know, certain resumes and backgrounds that go out there, one, not lose their mind and do something stupid, but two, can kind of help support this thing and provide top cover protection for the employees. So that's kind of the little gig I got going on the side. Now they pay really well. I'll tell you right now, the paycheck is the same as if I was going to Iraq or Afghanistan. You know, that's pretty scary too, that they're paying me that much money in the United States. And so people go, why don't you go to Ukraine? Like, why would I go to Ukraine when I can get the same money here? And nobody's going to shoot at me. Well, not much anyways, you know, and I do wear armor and I'm fully protected, but you know, it's at least I get to go home at night and go into a hotel room and get a good night's sleep. So, and, you know, I got coffee and warm food waiting for me too. So, yeah, but, you know, this is the whole thing is, you know, I think where we started with this was, you know, ultimately, man, this is our country is just going down the toilet on so many levels. And, you know, the level of crime, this entitlement mindset, this reverse racism, reverse discrimination, this reverse misogynism, all these things. It's just, how did we get here today, you know, so fast, where everything was right now is wrong, what was up is now down, what was left is now right. It's like everything is like when there's this weird paradox where everything is just reversed in life, you know. Men are now women, you know. It's just
I've got kind of an answer to that question. So I grew up in California, and I lived in generally the Sacramento area, and I've been going to San Francisco for, you know, hey, let's go down to the big city kind of thing once, twice a year for, I don't know, 30 years. Right. And there's some stuff that people should know, because everybody's like, oh man, this snuck up on us and we didn't, you know, and dear rest of the country, it's sneaking up on you. Right. If you lived in California through the 90s and early 2000s, this was coming. It was obvious. Gavin Newsom, current governor of California, former mayor of San Francisco. All of these problems started during his tenure as mayor of San Francisco. The human feces on the street, the crime and the way that they deal with crime, all of this, it's okay, just hug box nonsense. They stopped arresting people years ago. They did the safe injection site thing started under Newsom. And these policies, the rest of California, if you're listening to this and going, man, San Francisco is terrible, but I live in insert little city in the mountains, it's coming for you. And Newsom said that when he got elected, said, all of our social justice things are going great in the cities, but all of rural California, it's not going so great. And he started filing lawsuits immediately. This kind of thing, even if you wanted to contain it, you need to understand that in a state as corrupt as California, and it is, I will happily say, the most corrupt state in the nation. It is a state that corrupt, it doesn't stay contained. And that was the California plan for years is, look, you want to ruin the cities? Fine. We'll move out to the middle of nowhere. We'll live in a beautiful state. We'll live, up in the mountains. We'll live anywhere other than, the coastline where everything's terrible. And it is now spreading en masse to everywhere. And there is no containment of this of any variety. Even worse, we're subsidizing this with the federal government. California, despite all the things that it will tell you, gets massive subsidies from the feds, right? The feds come down and they say, all of your little hug box programs about We need to reform homeless and give them a chance, and then everything will be great. They're about half of that is federal money, depending on the year. California increases their budget. They go back to the feds. They say, oh, that wasn't enough money. You're supposed to be subsidizing our stupid program to the tune of anywhere between 30 and 50%. We increase the budget. Now you're only subsidizing us to the tune of 10%. And they get more money out of the feds. And this cycle just perpetuates forever. And in the world of how did we get up is down, black is white, men or women, etc., this is the kind of stuff that they were teaching in schools in the 90s. When I was a kid, I watched two guys get in a fight. I'm in high school, and guys fight. It's what they do. And it didn't matter. This was a very repeatable circumstance. It didn't matter who started the fight. Didn't matter what it was about. And let's be honest, if two guys in high school are fighting, there's at least a 50% chance it's over a woman, right? Didn't matter. The only reason two guys of different races ever fight is because racism. That's it. 100% of the time, white guys are racist. The only reason they're in this fight is because the white guy wanted to beat up a black guy because of historical racism. And so I watched the rest of the country go, well, man, where'd all this historical racism nonsense come from? I'm like, man, this is my high school life. What are you talking about? This has always been here. And these people, all of us, everybody who's even vaguely conservative says, man, if you want to live that way, fine. You keep that in San Francisco. I'll move to Texas, which is exactly what I did, right? I live in the middle of Texas. They're not going to stop. They are coming for you. They think it is a moral issue that you don't live like this. These people are, everybody's been sitting listening to people get offended by otherwise ridiculous things, right? For about a decade now, and laughing at these people and thinking it's it's pretty funny that some guy that 1,000 miles away is offended over some joke that has been funny for the past century, right? Those people think that is like how you would feel if you knew for a fact that California had open pedophilia. You'd be like, look, man, there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and I don't care, but you don't get to do that. And that's how they view you. That's how they view how you live. That's how they view how you think. That's how they view how you raise your kids. That's how they view how you run your store. Everything, right? All that, hey, bouncers throw people out of bars. Well, but if they throw a black guy out of a bar, it's because of historical racism. Like, it's not because he got drunk and got in a bar fight, because that's what all the rest of us got thrown out of the bar for. No, never, right? And they think it is a moral slight against everything that they stand for. So they're never going to leave you alone. They are coming for you. And that is probably the most important thing I think that I tell people ever, because it's, when I moved to Texas, there were a bunch of people who gave me like, yeah, but California is just ridiculous. And I went, how you guys have annual inspections now, right? And Texas does. They have an annual car inspection. They said, yeah. So back 20 years ago, you guys didn't have annual car inspections. Do you know why you have them now? No, because California went and campaigned to the federal government that they have smog check laws and everybody in the country needs to have annual inspections. And now you have an annual inspection. And if you think that it stops there, you're wrong. They will do this with everything. They go to the feds and they tell people that they have to work the way that California does, that it is a human rights violation, that people aren't allowed to, that entire story that Dale just told, all of that. If you can't do that, it's a human rights violation. And so they are very self-righteous when they campaign about this, and they don't stop because, again, like, hey man, if you want to live in a city where people just steal stuff, like, your city's going to collapse and I'm going to laugh at you. Oh, you have open pedophilia in the city, like, time, you get to do some dumb stuff, but now you've gone a bridge too far. I'm telling you, every single thing with them. That's how it works.
So we've beat Mr. Rust into a pulp with our stories of the horrifying nature of the West Coast, as you so patiently sit here with a smile. Mr. Rust, could you tell us any positive stories from Florida about how to maybe back up my point, which I'm not sure is true, that Florida is worth saving because it's not there yet? Do you see any of this shit, or is it a pretty cool place to live?
Oh my God, I need some therapy after this story.
I know, man. It's what I get for being friends with Dale. I'm sorry.
I know, right? But no, it's really insane. And this is something that is not really new. I mean, if you look back at history, going back to as far as the 20s, the progressives and the socialists, they've wanted this type of thing. So it's progressively been happening, and it's happening in areas that are clearly progressive and Democrat liberal run areas. Here in Florida, I mean, Florida people are a different breed, that's for sure, and you don't really see a lot of that here. You don't see any of that. Even in some of the big areas like Tampa and Orlando and Jacksonville, Miami, some of these big areas, you don't see a lot of it. So Florida and the rest of the country really truly is worth saving. And I just wonder what it's going to take to stop these progressives. I mean, I always say in my show that, we're far beyond time for parents to stand up in the room and be the parents, be the grownups in the room and tell these kids to knock it off. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit with some of the school board things going around the country, that parents are finally saying, enough of this. And in Florida, like I said, we're a different breed of people. And we've had our bath salt people, and there's always the stories of Florida, man. But, Florida has got a huge population of veterans. And, they're people that are all about freedom and all about, this country. And I don't know if I can see it happening here, but who knows? But we definitely need to do something about it and stop it all.
What I'm seeing, Brian, I'm here in Panama City Beach, is I'm starting to see a lot of New York and California license plates. A lot of that. And I'm actually, as I follow, let me tell you, I hate Twitter. But I go to it because you really get a good sense of how the left thinks. In fact, I look at people like, I follow people like, say, Ted Cruz, for example. Everybody that's on there is a lefty attacking him. And I said, you're doing something right when you have this many leftists attacking you, right? Because, and it's every conservative on there, and so I'm seeing a lot, and I've read a lot where people are commenting how they were from New York and California, and they're moving to Florida because of the better weather, and they're going to bring their liberal policies with them, and their whole agenda is to help take this country down, or this state down, and they're bragging about it like it's okay. And so I'm afraid that look at Texas, right? We're getting a lot of the lefties going out there because they see, oh wow, Texas is great, Florida is great, great place to live, great economies, all these wonderful things. Let's go wreck that shit too, and bring our liberal policies, and I wonder, to your point, how do we stop that or curb that? Because again, everybody comments about how people that are liberals, it's a mental disease, and I'm wondering, it's not so much as a mental disease, it's that once they've been inculcated in this mindset, you can't change it. And I made a comment the other day, you remember when at the other meeting we were at there, guys, I made the comment that my objective, if I was to get into this political sphere, is not to try to win over the hearts and minds of the left, because they're gone, they're lost cause, right? That's not that. Forget it, they're done. My mission would be to embolden, empower, and strengthen the right to push back harder and overrun these guys, not just resist, basically take it back, take it away from them. And we've got to be just as loud and vocal as they are. And here's the other thing that irritates the hell out of me. I hate when I hear people, I'm the silent majority. No, you're a coward, okay? You're a goddamn coward. Sorry for my language, but and I see that all the time, and I know a lot of my friends that are, the quiet professionals and silent majority. Look, how'd that work out for you in the last couple of elections, right? The squeaky wheel always gets the grease. And that's exactly what happened. All these little loudmouth liberals, chanting all kinds of stuff about racism, fascism, misogynism, homosexualism, all this crap. People they're paying attention. They get all the attention. They make the news, right? Sensationalistic journalism, they get all the attention. And we're losing because we're being quiet. And that's been my argument all this time. We need to just get up and make a lot of damn noise, and be aggressive about it. Hey, we're going to be fascist, racist, aggressive, and all these meanies, toxic males and shit. Let's be it. Let's do it.
So
let's go ahead and follow through then. That's
I
right.
say it on my show all the time, to stand up for it. And, don't let somebody tell you, oh, you're a racist or you're or whatever. It's like, you know what, own up to it and be like, whatever, you know, and just put your foot down and say enough of this crap. And you're right. There's just too many people that are too many wusses about this, and they're just not willing to. That's kind of one of those, oh, well, you know, somebody else is going to do it. You know, I've got so-and-so is in Congress or whatever, and is fighting for me. They're not fighting for you. You got to fight for yourself, and you got to stand up. I mean, a perfect example really truly is, and I talk about this all the time, is the school boards. You look at what those parents have done in school boards, and, you know, we've now got the Department of Justice calling them domestic terrorists, and they're still flipping them off. Not only is flipping them off, they're now running for those offices.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what we really need. We need more people to just stand up and just say, stop it, knock it off. This isn't going to happen.
Yeah. No, and, you know, and hats off to our governor, DeSantis, you know, and, you know, I was out last night talking to some veterans, just happened to run into him. I was out at Newbies here, and guy walked up to me and had a comment about my mustache, and that led to, he turns out they were veterans, and you know, and we went down this road about politics and where we are today. And one of the first comments they made was how proud they are of, you know, the Florida governor. And I said, yeah, you know what? There's a guy that you know, he's got some fortitude, man. He doesn't care what other people think, right? He's not playing the game of, you know, the political game, and like too many politicians out there. And you know, that's what we need. We need guys that are in that seat that are not wearing the politics hat, not going to play the game. I heard another comment too about you know, the meeting that we were at the other night, guys. The comment was made, you know, people in the office in Congress and Senate, you know, it's quid pro quo. If we got to pass this bill, we got to give something up. You know, we got to, you know, exchange this for that. You know, and I'm like, why? Why do we got to do all that? Why do we got to do it? Let's just take it all, right? Yeah. And let's stop playing games. Okay, I'll let you have this if you give me that. You know, that's the problem with politics, is they've turned it into a game, right? It's all brinkmanship and gamesmanship. And rather than just somebody grabbing their ball sack going, no, you know what? I want this, I want all of that, and I ain't giving you nothing. You know, you know, let's just be assholes. Let's be the assholes that we kind of are. You know? For years
now. Like, I mean, look, if we roll hard and we have to compromise something in the end, then so be it. But stop this nonsense where you roll out for something good, righteous, that is good for your community, the country, what have you, and going, well, I understand that I'm going to have to give something up. No, walk in and say, all right, this is what we're doing, and I don't give a damn whether you like it or not. We're doing it. And if in the end, if you're 2 votes shy and there's a guy that says, well, I need you to tweak it or something, then fine. You know, at that exact point, at the moment that you have to be willing to give up something. But until then, it's nope, we're rolling hard. We're taking whatever we want. And it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. And we need that more than anything else that we could possibly need on this planet right now.
Yeah, what they'll call you for that is they're going to call you dictators, fascists, you know, which is okay because they're calling me that anyways, right?
Exactly.
So, no, it's fine. They just have him call you Eisenhower because he called it unconditional surrender.
Yeah, you know. So I hear that too often, and man, there's got to be some changes. You know, the word politician has a dirty name. It just has a dirty ring to it, you know. And when I think of politicians, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, most of those, you look at some of these weenies out there, man, that are politicians, have done nothing in their life. Great example, Joe Biden, 45 years. What has this guy ever done, experienced, right? That he can identify with us. He can't. Okay. He's done nothing on our level. He's never been out there with the real Americans. He has no idea. They are so far removed from society that they can't identify with us. And I think what we need is more guys that are not politicians, but just a common man with common sense to go up there and represent the people and not themselves. I'm all about term limits. I'm all about, listen, I'm all about, hey, you're going to get on an airplane and you're going to take off from Texas and hide in Washington, D.C., you know, because you don't want to vote on a bill. Then I guess what? You should get paid all those days. Actually, you should be like in the military, get an Article 15, right? There's got to be consequences, man, you know, and these people aren't held to account. And then here's the thing that pisses me off too. I just read. So they just voted themselves, what, a 21% pay increase? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Hey, they work really hard. Come on, man.
Exactly, man.
7.9%. They got to offset the 7.9% inflation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so might as well just round it up 3 times.
So since they only vote annually, right, for those raises, or at least they're supposed to only vote annually, they voted themselves a 21% pay raise. You think they don't know what's coming?
Yeah, I know,
That,
right?
that is some unnerving stuff.
Yeah,
You
If there's
know?
7.9% already, then yeah, that means they know that there's 13.1% more inflation coming down the pipe.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, it's and the people just keep voting for them. As I was mentioning the other day, in the other show that we had, we've got to be able to really, we got to go way down to the lowest denominator and use plain language to the people and explain to them really what's going on. Most people don't pay attention to politics. You're right. Somebody mentioned earlier, they just they vote for a guy, he'll take care of me, government will take care of me, and they go on to mind their business, and then they wonder, wow, why is the gas so high? Why am I paying so much for milk and shit? And then they just hear, oh, it's somebody else, it's the Russians' fault. Oh, okay. That explains it, right? Because there's this war going on.
Well, yeah, and I saw that on TikTok. So come on, Dale.
I know, right?
No,
Look, we're sitting there, we're smart enough to see what's going on. We see the PSYOPs campaign underway, right? They use TikTok. It's nothing but a tool that they use for psychological operations to promote their agenda. Why everybody follows TikTok? I don't, but everybody else is all on board, especially the very vulnerable and the young minds out there, impressionable minds, they just go right along with it. TikTok, wow, that's a cool administration, cool president. And they're just manipulated over and over and over.
I have a horrible addiction to it because there's actually a lot of entertaining stuff on there. But with that aside, there are so many things that I see that you just look at it and you're like, where did you get that information from? I mean, seriously. One of the ones going around right now that has gone viral, which is funny because there's a lot of conservatives and those on the right that are now on TikTok and like correcting things. But this idiot is going on and he's got a display right behind of the Statue of Liberty and saying that when Russia originally gave us the Statue of Liberty, it was copper. You can't make this shit up, but it's all the time. And you're just like, how are you this stupid?
I mean, like a fraction of that's true. Like it was it still is.
It still is copper.
It's
always going to be copper.
So yeah, so
none
that
of what he said was true. You're
well,
like, what
no. When it was given, it was that technically. If I'm giving someone any percentage points on a test, they did get that. When it was gifted, it was copper. That's
yeah.
Not Paris or not France, and not that it still is. But
this is the quiz that says 1 out of 10. See me after class.
Yeah. This is the one that says a scheduled call with your parents. Yeah, no, but yeah, in general, I do feel like that's kind of what's going on. I mean, Mark Dice was walking around, I think, like 2 days ago, asking people who the vice president was. Not a single goddamn person knew, but they were all mad that Joe Rogan was hunting Triceratops. So I guess that's kind of the state of the nation right now. But
so the vice president thing, Dice has been doing that for years. Nobody ever knows who the vice president is. It's ridiculous.
Or why the Civil War was fought. That's they don't get that one either, man. It's like no.
That's incredible because these are the same people who every other day of the week will tell you we're evil because of slavery. Like, well, we killed a lot of Americans, so we're ending that, right? A lot of them.
Doesn't matter.
It's the dumb masses, I said this before, the Roman Empire said, give them bread and circus, and the dumb masses will never pay attention to what's going on in the Senate, we can have our way. Well, look how that all worked out in the end, right? It doesn't work out. Here we are again, right? We do live among the dumb masses. And just because you have a college education doesn't mean you have effective intelligence, right? Just because you have an education doesn't mean you know anything. Look, a lot of these doctors or these professors, at these universities, they're career students. That's it, man. That's all academia. That's all they know, right? They don't know the real world. Yet they got a big mouth and they have a big audience, of vulnerable, fertile minds that they can indoctrinate, and that's where we're at, right? So we have a huge breakdown in the education system. It's been underway for many, many, many years. I would even go so far back as saying, Mr. Spock, Dr. Spock, that guy, you know, that guy was in the forefront of destroying our freaking, you know, our youth, man. You know, the don't spank and, you know, and all that bullshit. I'm tell you what, I'm a better man for the spankings I got, you know.
Me too.
My
Yeah.
dad my ass because that's why I'm still alive and not in jail, you know, or dead.
Yeah.
It conveys, hey, don't do that pretty well. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Being raised as an Irish Catholic gets a lot of flack, but yeah, I do know when to shut the fuck up. Yeah.
I fear the wooden spoon. My mom would beat
I
the hell
know.
out of big
I
wooden
know.
spoon.
Oh, no.
My
Straight
dad
up.
had the army belt. That was his weapon of choice.
My older brother, Charlie, still holds the trophy as the only one to ever get the spoon broken on him. Yeah. But, so, you know, kind of pushing all that aside and all jokes aside, like what can we do? I mean, Dawn, you're obviously involved locally. I try to have on as many candidates as I can. Like, what can we do for specifically Florida and Texas to make sure this shit doesn't come? And if it already is coming, to stop the flow? Dawn, I feel like you normally have the best take on this. So although you're in Texas, what would you recommend they do, or all of us do, for Florida?
So it's the same game everywhere, right? All your federal representatives basically need to be a smokescreen. Dear feds, stay out, and all of your local guys. And it's been a really heartening past 6 months, because I've been doing this for years and years now. And the past 6 months has been like the school board thing. People going, oh, so you're not going to listen? No problem. Get out. Right. And that is the kind of thing where there's still a lot of federal influence, and that's where most of this creeps in. Right. And you can go back to, you know, I can drive 55 kind of nonsense with 55-mile-an-hour speed limits for gas rationing. They've been doing this a long time, and they're very good at it. The thing is, when states go, we're just not going to play anymore, then the game is up. That's it. No more. There's nothing to do. And there's a couple of states that never had a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, that never had, you know, Common Core being taught in schools, that never had any of this CRT nonsense taught in schools. And I know for all the guys who are like really into that, oh, Don, but there was like, you know, this one school. Yeah, okay, there's one school. There's not every school in the state. There's not every road in the state. There's not whatever it is that you're talking about. It's not universal, and you can go play whack-a-mole with just a couple. But if it's everywhere, you have a fight on your hands, right? And a real big one. And in the end, a thing that the right is not very good at is just saying no. And that's what it comes down to. Just, we're not doing it. And what are you going to do? And every time it happens, the answer from basically everybody is, well, I don't know. You guys never say no. How do we deal with this? And somehow we never learn the lesson. Somehow we don't. How do we not have 25 Ron DeSantis's running states? How is that not a thing? Right? Because if 25 states in the union went, we're not doing any of this. Oh, the university system is completely jacked up because we've been letting you control this. Okay, fine. We're going after the university system. Deal with it. Because we don't care what you have to say. Oh, we're not going to get federal funds. We don't care. Right? On and on. Every single arena, 100% of the time, if you get local candidates who, let's be honest, can't be voted out, because the moment people find out what's going on, they go, you know what? Now it's dangerous because I know it's dangerous. And that guy showed up for the sole reason of saying, stop this nonsense. And then that guy becomes immune to being gotten rid of, right? Lauren Boebert does this at the federal level. Ron DeSantis does this at the governor level. There's quite a few, right? All over the country, you can find somebody somewhere. And as long as you don't end up with things like jungle primaries, which are ridiculous, that's how we lose everything, right? If your state is ever talking about a jungle primary, I don't care what you have to do, stop that. Because that's how you get the problems that Orange County out in California has, where they're starting to lose one of those bastions of, you know, we actually control this one little space, this space fights the state, etc. The moment you let them start playing with election rules, for some reason, Democrats win forever after that. Just what a coincidence. And these are the things that have to be stopped. That said, in the world of nobody pays attention to politics, you need to personalize this stuff. And that sounds terrible, right? Like maybe we should righteously stand up and say, hey, that's wrong. We're not doing that. But most people's lines are ridiculously far. You know, I want to throw your kid to meat grinder. Whoa, okay, we're stopping there. Prior to that, though, is, well, how bad is this? And for any of you paying attention, for any of you who have, who are reading these books that are going out to schools and going, oh my God, this is porn that we're handing 8-year-olds. Go buy the book and take it to your neighbor and go, you read this? Because let me tell you, people don't like it. People get mad. And the moment they get mad, then they want to get up and do something. And anything prior to that, there's always an excuse. There's, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I got bowling night. But once they're mad, they're willing to get up and tell, say to the powers that be, that's enough. We're done.
Thoughts, Mr. Rust?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's fine, man.
My brain is fried. It really is. Between the job, the normal one, and all of this bullshit going on in this world.
Right, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, he's perfectly right. It's a matter of the states really standing up and saying, "Fuck off." And I think that we've gotten to a point where too many states are just like, "Okay, yeah, we'll do whatever it is you want." And the only reason why I don't say it on the radio is because of the fact that I'm governed by the FCC, but I just totally want to say fuck off to the federal government.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do that a lot. We need more Ron DeSantis's. We need more states to stand up and say, no, you can take your school system and shove it up your ass. You can take these rules and regulations or we don't get our money, you can shove it up your ass. You can take all of these policies and ideologies and shove that so far up your ass you can scratch the back of your eyeballs. But unfortunately, there's like Dale was saying earlier, there's not enough people that really truly are willing to say no and stand up. And then until we start getting more people doing that, and I think we need to have more people out there encouraging that that's what you need to start doing, it's only going to get worse. So it's a matter of having a campaign towards the federal government of fuck off, leave us alone, let us do what we want to do. If I want to go live in an area where I can go take a dump in a changing room, then I'm going to move to San Francisco, and you don't give me any shit about it. If I want to live in a state where when I need to take a dump, I go find a restroom and do it, I'm going to stay in the state of Florida. And I think that's really, truly what it needs to be. I mean, and I say this all the time, I'm always preaching about this, about how we need to take back the powers that the states have. And we need to reduce the size of federal government, reduce the size of bureaucracy, reduce everything about federal government, and get them down to the point where they protect our borders, which they can't even do that right now. But all this other bullshit that we get from the federal government, where there's not enough people and enough politicians to tell the government where to kiss it.
I think the problem, there's another problem. And the problem is it goes back to what I was saying earlier about politicians. Most politicians have never really done anything significant or worthy. They've never been out there and been tested. They're a guy that, when I think about what's his name, Beto O'Rourke, right? Look at this guy. I mean, look at this guy, right? And this guy, and people actually listen to this guy, and he lies. Remember, he's like, I'm going to take your guns. That's what I'm going to take your guns. And I was like, oh, I would never take your guns. Like, and everybody's like, oh, okay, he wouldn't take your guns. Like the guy, it's like people's memory is like that long, man. They don't remember what people said. Even Biden and all the racial comments he's made in the past, I mean, they just totally dismissed. And I look at black people go, why'd you vote for this guy? Tell me something racist Trump said, and I'll show you 10 things Biden said. Right. And so the problem is, I think we like leadership. That's the best way to put it. What we have in office up and down the whole chain is managers. They're just managers. They're not leaders. Right. And there's terrible managers on top of that, with some exceptions. Now, I look at DeSantis as a leader, right, who also has management skills, and he's got the right team under him to help him manage that. There are others like him, but not many. When I look at, I'll use San Francisco, for example, California. Okay, these are all managers. Okay, there's not one leadership bone between all of them put together, not one. And that's a huge difference, because it takes leadership to stand up and go, no, we're not doing it this way. No, I don't care about your money, and we're going to do it this way. The whole thing that just came out with, don't say gay thing, right? They totally twisted that shit around, right? But DeSantis didn't try to like downplay. It's like, that's not what I said. If you want to lie, go ahead, but I'm not going to sit there and explain it to you, idiots. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take guys to go, no, we're not bargaining. We're not going to negotiate. It's not going to be quid pro quo. It's my way or the highway, and and start standing up to these guys. You know, they don't have, they got, what they have is, I don't want to call it balls. What they have is gall, right? Like the O'Rourke's out there and fucking AOC, right? They got gall, right? And they don't have balls, but they're little fucking paper tigers. That's it, man. They talk a lot of shit, but that's it, right? But when it takes somebody, you know, that's got some balls like DeSantis, they're not going to stand for guys like that. We need more. Trump, for example, Trump, man, there's a guy with balls, okay? And they hated that. You know, they call him all kinds of names, but at the end of the day, he got things done, right? We wouldn't be in this predicament we're in right now if he was, you know, if he was still in office. But because the guy had balls, he had, you know, he had the tenacity and the, you know, the resolve to follow through on what he wanted on his agenda and not let these other people bully him or, hey, I'll give you this if you give me that. He's like, screw you, we're doing it this way, or just get out of the way. We need more of that. And it's lost in our culture because over the years in school, you know, our kids have been indoctrinated that, you know, toxic masculinity is bad, you know, everybody is equal, you know, and, you know, it's, you know, everybody gets a trophy, you know, they really have emasculated men, you know, and made them little girly men. And look, and I'll tell you something, I was talking about this with the vets last night. And these were younger guys in their 20s, and they were all on their own. I go, listen, I'm really embarrassed about my generation. These guys are a bunch of, they're weenies, right? And I was like, you know, I'm glad you said it, but I realized a long time ago. And that's so true. Even when, you know, we see guys in the same age group going, yeah, my peer group is a bunch of clowns, or a bunch of weenies, or a bunch of sissies. You know, we've got a problem. I've seen it in combat. Okay, I've actually seen it in combat. So I'll give you a little quick story. I think it was 2010, big operation in the Kunar Valley up in Afghanistan, fighting Taliban, blah, blah, blah. It was a 3-day operation, included the Afghan National Army, US military, special forces, and our guys, all mercenaries. And one of my contemporaries, one of the other guys that was with me, he had his platoon was coming around a bend. There's an American platoon sitting underneath some trees and shade and had all the equipment off. This is during a firefight now. And about 500 yards out in front of them was an MRAP, had been hit with an RPG, and there were American casualties. They were still taking fire. And he stopped, looked at them, and goes, hey guys, there's your guys out there dead and wounded. Why are you guys just sitting here, you know, not doing anything? And the answer literally was, it's too hot. It's too hot out there. And they literally took their shit off so they could cool off in the shade. And so my partner had to send our guys out there to recover these Americans and provide first aid while the American medics watched. And he pulled the captain to the side. He goes, hey, captain, he goes, what's going on here? You know, how come you can't motivate your men to get out there and work? And his answer was, they won't listen to me. They won't do what I tell them, you know? And this was in 2010. Okay. And these are young soldiers, young infantry guys. And that told me all I need to know. And that's not the first time I've seen that. In fact, a big report went in on this, and that all ended up in the shredder. Nobody wanted to talk about what went on that day, but to me, that's just another sign and symptom of a bigger problem that we have in our society. We have gotten to a point where, you know, and even I say it today, I look at our military, I look at a lot of our special forces, and I'm like, this is not the same military I was in. It's just been totally watered down. And now, you know, I used to coach and mentor a lot of young men to go into the military. They would come all the way down here to Florida just to hang out with me for the weekend, you know, and we go shoot guns and talk Army stuff, you know, and get them mindset ready for the Army. And now when they ask me, I go, you know what? Don't join the military. I actually discourage them from joining the military. You know, that's sad because my son's a Green Beret. He's a Ranger Green Beret, okay, as I was. And, you know, and here I am telling other people, don't go in the military. I'm telling you, even my friends, my veteran friends are telling their sons the same thing, stay out. Why would you go fight for this? Why would you fight for this government? Okay, you can say, well, we're fighting for America. No, I'm not even fighting for this America because more than half this America, they're not Americans. They're pseudo-Americans at best, You know, why? You know, there's a poll that just came out recently where they asked, you know, Americans, you know, how many of you would fight for your country, you know? And more than half of the Democrats said they would leave. They wouldn't fight for their country. Yeah. Like that says all I need to know. You know, it was 68% of Republicans and conservatives would go and fight. It was something like 48%. It was 50-something% of Democrats said they would leave the country, you know, and give it up. So why would I go down range or send my son down range to fight on their behalf?
You know You know what that is? That is an indication that dear conservatives everywhere, dear vaguely American loving people, dear people who are apolitical but like the general premise of this country. The fight is here now. It is not wherever over there is. The fight is here right
Yeah.
now. You want to fight for this country? Do it across the street from your house, because that's where the fight is.
Yeah, absolutely. man.
Fuck yeah. Well, and Mr. Rust, I think we can let chip in for your therapy. And now, after talking to Dale, most people have the same reactions.
Yeah, I think Dale and I need to go to lunch now after that or something. I mean, good God. I mean, it really, truly, and honestly, I mean, I read this stuff and it didn't come to surprise to me, but to hear that story, you know, all I can think of is, man, this really sounds like a Hollywood horror flick of a city gone zombie.
It sounds
really,
like a
really what it
Republican
sounds
scare film, right? It sounds
Yeah,
like
I mean,
some
it really does. It sounds
overblown
good.
1980s. The communists are here. You heard the
Right.
story. You don't get the
Yeah.
text I get from Dale. You don't get the
Yeah.
videos of the naked women standing on the street corners.
It's
all right?
Gotham City. We laugh and we call it Gotham City. It's literally Gotham City.
Yeah.
I mean,
because
literally,
it
I
is.
literally have video. I walk out and I hear screaming and hollering. There's people everywhere, and there's some woman with no clothes on, jumping around and dancing and hanging it all out, you know. And I see people masturbating in the streets. I see people covering themselves up with sheets, literally standing in the middle of traffic like a ghost for an hour, just not even moving, man. It's the fentanyl and all the drugs, and you know, that's the scary thing too. But I want to jump on the fentanyl train for a second, man. This is, to me, one of the most dangerous drugs that are out there, and I'll tell you why it's so dangerous, because you don't have to ingest it to be poisoned or killed by it. You just have to have a small amount touch your skin.
Yeah.
This happens all day long. I carry Narcan with me just for that reason. The police have given it to me out there because people go down hard and die fast from fentanyl. It's everywhere. They're lacing all the marijuana, the other drugs. Look, it's a great date rape drug. You know, you can take a little bit and put it on, for example, you just put it on a doorknob or something, and you go, somebody touches it, guess what? They're going to be on Queer Street in a matter of minutes, and then they're going to either be dead or they're going to be a zombie. You know, it's so bad out there that the San Francisco police were telling me that, you know, they're watching people get drugged, you know, at these concerts and stuff. People are dying. This whole thing in Houston, you know, there was no further discussion about what actually happened. That stampede. It started out with the security officer going, yeah, I felt a prick in my neck and I went down. Yeah, you know what that was? An insulin needle. But you know what also they use? They're actually using these, they're what do you call them? It's like a blow pop ring, right? That, you know, it's got like candy on it. Yeah. And they're actually putting a needle in it, all right? And they're filling it with fentanyl, and they're walking by and basically slapping people on the ass, especially bumping into them. You don't feel it's a small little prick. Next thing you know, you're going down. And they're doing that shit. It's a weapon of terrorism now. You know, you could put down a lot of people really fast with fentanyl. I mean, I'm seeing what the side effects are, and it ain't pretty, man. It is not pretty. I forget what the statistics were in San Francisco, but some incredible amount of people die every year downtown San Francisco from fentanyl. It's like, I mean, it's like a huge body count. You know, I've got security officer friends. That's all they do at night is patrol the streets, and they're telling me all the time they're policing up bodies. There's so much going on there, death and carnage, that it's not in the news. I had a guy get stabbed to death in front of my hotel room. Okay. And that never made the news. You know, they don't want to talk about that. You know, that's the reality of San Francisco. My wife keeps wanting to come out there and visit. I go, hell no, you're not coming out there. It's crazy. You know, I mean, it's just crazy. I've seen women getting punched in the head, getting beat up, you know, just all kinds of stuff, just mind the damn business, you know? So anyways, yeah, the little fentanyl thing got me all worked up here for a second.
And that's Gen 1. There's carfentanil, which is about 500 times stronger. And then I think there's isocarfentanil, which is about 1,000 times stronger, to the point where, I mean,
it's pretty bad here too in Panama City Beach. I don't know if you know that, Russ. But
it's a big problem.
Yeah, it's like fire departments, you know, they're going, hey, somebody's falling, they can't get up. They go to grandma's house and they put their arm in and pick them up, and she's got fentanyl patch, and boom, fireman goes down, you know, and now he's got to be revived with Narcan. You know, it's everywhere, man. And it's so easy to administer topologically to anybody. You know, if you want to infect you, like, this is what I'm concerned about spring break here, right? You go into these bars, there's freaking packed with, you know, these young kids and college people, and And you can go in there and easily, man, hit somebody with a little bit of fentanyl, walk them out and have your way with them all night long. They have no idea. So assuming they survive it, right?
Yeah.
Dosages
no,
are different
assuming they
for-
survive.
Yeah, it's like, just because one dosage worked on one person doesn't mean you can't kill somebody else with the same dosage, man. It's Russian roulette,
The difference in dosages are so tiny that we would look at something like if me and Rust both drank and died, or I died and he didn't, and we go, what's the difference?
Scottish, I'd be all right.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Brian goes, well, I had one drink and Tommy drank an entire gallon of vodka. You go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, I mean, when you're looking at lethal doses that are, I mean, the exhalation can make it blow away. What's the difference between one pinhead and 5 pinheads?
Right.
So to expand on that point, right? So here we have Joe Biden issuing $30 million worth of crack pipes and and drug paraphernalia, right? So it sounds to me like the president of the United States is basically supporting people's drug problems. He's perpetuating it, is what he's doing. And why has nobody called him out on that yet? How is that helping anybody? I'm gonna tell you right now, in San Francisco, openly be able to inject and all this stuff and clean deals. It's not saving people's lives. Okay,
No.
People are dying constantly because all of the other ancillary diseases come along with that. HIV and all the hepatitis and everything else that comes along with drug overdose. Then just the stabbings and the murder that goes along with it. Nobody's being helped by this open use policy, and I think it's time to go back to crushing nuts, going, you freaking selling drugs, you're using drugs, you take your ass and go to jail, you're going to pay a heavy fine. I think the best way to stop it is deterrence. All this other little, bullshit, and here's everything. Well, people are mentally ill. Well, let me tell you, every country I've been into, I have never seen the level of mental illness that I see in San Francisco. Why is it everybody in San Francisco is mentally ill? Probably because everybody's taking drugs, and we allow all this shit because you don't see in Panama City Beach. We have a quack here and there, but it's a legitimate quack. But we don't. I'm telling you right now, I've never seen so many crazy people in my life. One every 10 seconds comes along, screaming and hollering, doing weird shit. Shit in their pants. Literally, that's the other thing I can't get my head around. Is people walk around literally with shit bulging out of their pants, drinking coffee, and they're totally oblivious to the idea that they got the worst smelling shit, by the way, because it doesn't even smell like human shit anymore, coming out their ass, and they're walking around like they're totally oblivious, and most people just tolerate, like, oh, whatever.
Well, I think Dale does owe Brian an apology lunch or something. Hey, so I've got to wrap this one up. I got another guy coming in 2 minutes. I think we should definitely do it again sometime and further mentally scar Brian. Brian, I will put you in touch with Dale because I believe you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, I'd love to meet you, man. Go ahead and have some lunch or whatever.
Yeah, get a little fucked up, and maybe Brian can take revenge on you. But
right.
Brian, Dale, Dawn, thank you so
fellas.
much, my friends. And if anybody wants to tune in for more fentanyl-laced shit zombie stories, well, I get to tune in next week or something. Sure, whatever the fuck, Dale. Oh, Dale's going back out there, so we'll have some fresh stories.
Yeah, I gotta go ahead and get another dose
As if
of
we
that.
didn't have enough. Well,
Oh.
maybe Dale can bottle the smell to make the stories a little more realistic for us next week.
Please don't. I've been to Frisco recently, and the smell is the thing that it's like when you talk to people about Saving Private Ryan, they're like, yeah, it was exactly like that, except for the smell.
Yeah.
Right. And San Francisco's the same way, because if you've ever been to like a porta potty, right, you're like, oh man, how bad could it be? It's not like that. It's not at all. It is the worst thing you've ever smelled in your life. It's like some strange combination of rotting meat and human waste and body odor.
I've had enough of this conversation. So
it's terrible.
Right? I wanted to go eat lunch.
Yeah, I got. Well, no, I really got. Well, one, I got to wrap this one up, and two, I'd rather blow my brains out than listen to for another 30 seconds. So, guys, I'll all the episode when it's up. Brian, I'll put you in touch with Dale. And
thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, I'll put it together. Thank you so much, my friends.